We are the Pituitary Powerhouses. This is our unknown hormone project, and I'm McKenna.
I'm Grace.
And I'm Raina.
This is our given data. The most important ones that we'd noticed was a difference in the reproductive organs. There was an increase in almost all of them. And then the next one is our GTT test. If you want to click through, there's and there wasn't a huge difference in the glucose levels compared to our experiment mice. And then this is another graph to show the most significant differences in those. And there's a huge difference between the seminal vesicles and the ventricle prostate.
Okay, so then our initial observations after comparing our control data to the experimental data, we mostly noticed the significant changes in the rats were seen in the reproductive organs and in bone growth. There was larger seminal vesicles, ventral prostates, ovaries, and uteruses in the experimental rats. And then we also noticed that the body weight increased as well as the tibia width increasing, which is what demonstrated the bone growth. And then some significant glands that we looked at were the thyroid, pituitary, and adrenal glands, and they all stayed pretty similar or about the same. And then plasma-free fatty acids and glucose levels increased, but not super drastically. So then after going over all the changes that we noticed as a group, we came up with three potential hormones that we thought could have been injected into the rats. So the top three potential hormones that we came up with were growth hormone, testosterone, and human chorionic gonadotropin hormone, HCG. So for growth hormone, we suspected that it could have been growth hormone specifically because of the increase in body weight and tibia width. Typically, growth hormone increases body mass in terms of not fat, but like body cell mass. And then growth hormone also increases tibia width due to the growth hormone stimulating the growth plates throughout the body. And then for testosterone, we suspected that it could have been the potential hormone because of the increase in the body weight, seminal vesicles, and ventral prostates. And then we also felt as it was one of the only hormones that could have done this, as all of that, as well as increase the female reproductive organs. And then for HCG, we suspected this due to the significant increase in size of the uterus, ovaries, and overall body weight. These three changes combined led us to believe that HCG could have been the potential hormone injected.
So the first test we did was an observational test. We chose to ask for the behavior and appearance assessment first because we wanted like general information to help us narrow down the three hormones and that we had originally suspected. The results were that the experimental rats had elevated activity levels. They had a slight increase in restlessness, increased aggressive interspecific interactions, and slight increase in muscle size. So, after reviewing the results from the behavior and appearance assessment, we ruled out growth hormone. We felt that testosterone could affect aggression levels and restlessness in the rats more as opposed to growth hormone. The increase in muscle size also led us to believe that our unknown hormone could be testosterone. Testosterone is known to increase aggression and dominance behaviors. It also increases muscle size. After discussing as a group, we decided that the urine ACG test or the pregnancy test would be best to perform next to rule out ACG as our potential unknown hormone. So then we did the urine test for the pregnancy test, and it came back negative. in the pregnancy test ruled out that HCG could be the hormone injected. Because if it would have been HCG, then the pregnancy test would have come back positive. So receiving the results to this test, we eliminated HCG as our potential unknown hormone.
Okay, so the third test that we did was the radioimmunoassay for serum testosterone. This was the last test we decided to get done to confirm our strong suspicions that testosterone was our unknown hormone. We kind of had a strong feeling that testosterone could be our hormone, but we wanted to rule out our other ones first. This test combines a radioactive version of a substance with an unlabeled substance in the rat's blood to measure the amount of that specific substance present. So since we were testing for testosterone, it was combining a radioactive version of that with the unlabeled substance since it was unknown. And essentially, if the results came back that there was a lot of testosterone present, then we would know that that was our unknown hormone. So the results are shown below. In the control rats, you can see that it was 4,121 plus 391, and then in the experimental, we can see that it significantly grew to 1,051. And so after receiving those results for the radioimmunoassay for serum testosterone, as a group, we were able to conclude that testosterone had been the hormone injected into our rats. In the experimental rats, there was a small amount of radioactivity counted, which meant that there was a large amount of the hormone being tested for, which was the serum testosterone. And then in the control rats, there was a larger amount of radioactivity, meaning that there was a small amount of the hormone. So in the control rats, there was a small amount of testosterone. And then we could see with the data that in the experimental rats, there was a much larger amount of testosterone. So by comparing the control rats to the experimental rats, we were able to confirm that testosterone was our unknown hormone for our code 737. And then final thoughts. Based on the behavioral changes, the seminal vesicle and prostate growth, and then the RIA results, the data strongly suggests that testosterone is the unknown hormone. There weren't any major contradicting findings that would suggest otherwise, so overall, testosterone explained the results better than any other hormone we considered. And based on the disparity in the reproductive organs, there was suggestion that the hormone would have to be something that affects those specific organs. The test results showed that testosterone would be the best option of our hormone. Overall, by looking at all of the tests that we got done, and then just by comparing the initial data given of the control rats to our specific experimental rats, we ultimately came to the conclusion that testosterone is what had been injected into our rats. Thank you.
Okay.